Vikings and Lions. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
Mm-mm.
Last week of the regular season, two two of the best teams in the league going head to head for their divisional title and the number one seed for the NFC in the playoffs. So, two juggernauts, really. I mean, and truthfully speaking, these teams in a lot of different ways are carbon copies of each other. You know, they do a lot of the same things on offense and defense. They do a lot of different things on offense and defense, but just very same kind of team structure from what it feels like going head to head. They're playing in Detroit. Detroit is coming off of a big time win against the 49ers. Even though the 49ers are eliminated from the playoffs, it still felt like a morale boosting win, especially after what happened last year in the 2023 playoffs, where the Vikings gave up that 17-point lead to lose it, you know, when they felt like they were going to go on and win the Super Bowl. So I feel like that was really good to build confidence and kind of set the precedent as they head into the playoffs. But nonetheless, they're fighting for the first round bye. They're fighting for the one seed in the easy path ahead and to host the playoffs in Detroit. And on the contrary, the Vikings are looking to host the playoffs in Minnesota. So it's so fun because these are two of the best teams. I mean, this is like a Super Bowl in itself, but a lot to be playing for and a lot to discuss. We have a lot of stats that we're going to be talking about, but BJ, this matchup, so fun, right? And when we talk about this, the Lions having the home field advantage is a huge plus. How much of that do you think is going to come into play in a game where Jared Goff and Sam Darnold could go for 40 each?
Yeah. No, the script writers never fail. Never fail.
Mm-mm.
This is a perfect script, just like every NFL season, right up to the last week. Yeah, I think the crowd's going to play a big factor. Dan Campbell will have his boys juiced up, and the crowd will be on their feet. And I think it comes down to kind of the big plays. We know that Dan likes to gamble a lot, go for it on fourth down on his own side of the field, and so he's pretty good at that. And it gets the crowd behind him. Use offensive linemen to catch passes, which is incredible. Hook and ladders. You know, it's the one to JMO was awesome last week.
Yeah.
Now this, I guess, plays into how I want the Lions to win the Super Bowl, but they gotta get humbled at some point before the playoffs. You gotta get humbled at some point.
Already blowing smoke up people's asses now. Here are we? So
yeah,
he likes it. So BJ loves building narratives, and he can be kind of good at it sometimes. So he builds these very specific narratives from how he thinks games are going to go, or how they should go at least. And so they're quite entertaining. But so BJ, are you insinuating that the Lions lose this game, that thus builds up their anger and their momentum and confidence going into the playoffs?
That is what I'm insinuating. But I will say we'll take it back to Minnesota covering the 3, because I do think it'll be a very close game, a very fun game. It's a Sunday night game. Like I said, the script writers never fail. So both teams, Super Bowl contenders, obviously. Should be a real fun one.
Yeah,
come
so
down to the big plays.
The Lions are 2.5-point favorites at home. So again, having the home field advantage is a huge plus draw for the Lions. Those Detroit fans are going to be going crazy. I mean, we know how raucous they can get when they have the home field advantage. So the model is looking at about a 1.5-point favorite for the Lions rather than 2.5. So not much of a discrepancy there. Of course, it's a high total game, but model likes Lions 26.5 to 25 over on the Vikings side. Again, both of these teams, statistically speaking, very much alike. They run a little bit different schemes. Ben Johnson runs a scheme that's, second to none. He's just, all over the place. He can draw up plays in any sort of formation and make it work. He gets his playmakers the balls, but similar to the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, he runs a very specific type of offense, and he gets his playmakers the balls. So, schematically speaking, they have like similar approaches, but kind of different, ways to get their playmakers the ball. Of course, that you have Sam Darnold, who's playing lights out. And then you have one of the best wide receiver duos in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. But you flip it over. I mean, Jared Goff has really had a career revival with the Detroit Lions. He also has Amon-Ra St. Brown and the emergence of Jamison Williams, not to mention one of the best rookies of last year, Sam Laporta, this year, having a solid sophomore season. So, but statistically speaking, Beach, we already talked about the model projection. We already mentioned how they're very similar. I mean, both teams are top three in EPA per play. Where um, excuse me, top 10, excuse me, where Detroit is third overall in EPA per play and Minnesota is 10th. And then both defenses are top 10 in EPA per play allowed. So it's not only that these offenses are phenomenal, and I think that everybody should expect points to be on the board. Both of these offenses have proved to be really, really tough to stop, but the defenses are going to come into play too. I mean, we look at that. Detroit's defense also ninth overall in success rate allowed. Minnesota's defense second overall in success rate allowed. Brian Flores has been phenomenal pickup for the Lions. I think the defense is going to come into play way more than people like to expect. There will be points, but there's going to be some big defensive plays that come out of nowhere that I think are going to really make this game, because both teams know how to score, but the defenses that know how to mitigate the big plays by the playmakers on the other side of the ball is going to be the team that wins, in my opinion. So I really am more excited to see how the two defensive coordinators game plan for the opposing offenses more so than how the offenses are going to go into this game and light it up. So I really think that's going to be the focal point here. Good news for Detroit is they are getting some pieces back. Anzalone, I think he still has a little bit to go, but there were some whispers of him coming back. Reeves Maben's coming back. So this defense is slowly kind of getting some dudes back. Luckily, they had no injuries last week, but it's going to be awesome, man. And I really do look forward to how creative both offenses and defenses are going to be. We've seen that all year from both teams. And I think we just have two phenomenal play callers going head to head, and Kevin O'Connell and Ben Johnson. So I like the Lions to take the win here at home field advantage. I think we're just going to see how much that comes into play and how much they really, really want that home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But kudos to the Vikings, man. I mean, phenomenal season, doing it on the tails of Sam Darnold, who's had a career revival. It's been truly amazing what he's done,
It
honestly.
has. It
I
has.
mean, it's a shame that I don't even think he'll be back with the Vikings next year.
It's so
You know,
sad. That should not happen. I'm sorry. You can't do that. I know the draft capital of McCarthy, but that's crazy. That's so crazy to me.
maybe it's just the Kevin O'Connell scheme, man. He
Oh
gets his
yeah,
best out, I guess.
it's true. And you can say the same thing with Ben Johnson of Jared Goff. But he was with Sean McVay beforehand.
Yeah, true.
Very interesting. You can
So,
definitely say that.
I mean, golly, both of these teams, both of these offenses, they're fully healthy. With the exception of the Lions, they're out their best runner and David Montgomery, which I think will actually have an effect. But I mean, at the same time, we've seen Gibbs just go scorched earth on these defenses. I mean, he has a second gear that guys don't have. And so I think I think he'll play a huge role, especially in the passing game. The Vikings here, they have one of the highest blitz rates in the NFL. That's just Brian Flores' mantra. And so they're going to have some blitz beater plays, and that's going to look like, wide receiver screens and checkdowns, but a lot of stuff to Jahmyr Gibbs in the flats, a lot of designed, quick routes to Jahmyr Gibbs just to get the ball out of Jared Goff's hands quickly to avoid sacks with those blitzes. So I expect a big game from him as well. And, even though they are losing kind of one of their heartbeats of that offense and David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think his talent alone is perfectly well enough to take this team, the distance in the running game and the passing game, really. But I don't expect, we haven't seen the effect of David Montgomery yet, his loss at least. So, oh my gosh, I feel like I can keep going and talking about this game, but at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. Both teams, top 10 offenses, top 10 defenses. It's just going to who's going to come in there more motivated and more well prepared. And ultimately, I think the Lions having the home field advantage is just the icing on top. So BJ likes the Vikings here to come out motivated and beat the Lions. And then what? The Lions get remotivated because of their loss at home and then
Remotivated.
go
They get
scorched earth.
they get remotivated every day by Dan. You know they do.
I was about to say, yeah.
I
I
wanted to
think there's no
ask you.
lack of motivation there.
No, I wanted to ask you real quick. Do you think it should change how in the divisions, like this division, the NFC North is going to have three teams in the playoffs, and two are fighting for the 1 seed, but one's going to be a wild card. Do you think that should change?
I mean,
That's
maybe,
like
but
that kind of
what
sucks.
what else is better? You know,
I don't know.
are you saying we should just do
Straight up
divisionless and go
divisionless.
conference, just straight up conference play? But then you run the like, you know, how do you know what two teams you want to pair together? Or what I'm saying is you're in a division, you play your division, you know, the other teams in your division twice a year.
Right.
So it's like scheduling then becomes a nightmare. So
Yeah. It just sucks.
there is some faults to it. You know, a lot of fallacies. We see that. I mean, golly, whoever loses this game is going to be the best wild card in history.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, man. You know, and this is what it's about. To be the best, you have to beat the best. You know, this is what that game is about. I mean, who gives a shit? If you're 14-2, it doesn't matter if you can't beat the guys in your division. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And I think both teams are going to go into the field with that mindset. And so you have to, I mean, really. But as unfortunate as it is.